Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I'm not showing any reservation under this name. I watched from across the hotel lobby as my daughter-in-law's face went from smug confidence to confused panic in 3 seconds flat. She tried her perfect smile on the desk clerk, the one she uses when she thinks she's dealing with someone beneath her. That's impossible. Check again. Our booking confirmation is right here on my phone. The clerk's fingers moved across the keyboard. I see it was here, ma'am, but it shows it was canceled about 40 minutes ago. My name is Margaret, and before I tell you what happened next, I want to say hello to all of you wonderful people watching. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing all the different places you all call home. Now, what I'm about to tell you is completely true. Every word. And it's about the day I finally stopped being the convenient, quiet mother-in-law who was supposed to just smile and pay for everything without asking any questions. Let me take you back 6 months before that hotel lobby disaster, because you need to understand how we got there. My son James married Ashley 3 years ago. I was genuinely happy for him. She was ambitious, polished, well-educated. Everything seemed perfect on paper. And honestly, for the first year, things were pretty good between us. We weren't best friends, but we were friendly enough. I respected their space. They visited for holidays. We had pleasant dinners. But somewhere in year 2, something shifted. Ashley got a promotion at her tech company, and suddenly she became an expert on everything. Not just tech, everything. Travel, food, culture, parenting techniques for kids they didn't even have yet, politics, health, you name it. And she started treating me like I was this sweet but hopelessly outdated relic who needed to be gently educated about the modern world. At first it was subtle, little corrections during conversations. Actually, Margaret, studies show that's not really true anymore. Or when I'd mention something I'd read, she'd pull out her phone mid-conversation to fact-check me right there at the dinner table. James would give her a look sometimes, but he never said anything. I think he was caught in that impossible position of loving his mother but not wanting conflict with his wife. So I bit my tongue. What else was I supposed to do? Risk losing access to my son over some condescending comments? But it got worse. Last December, they came for Christmas dinner. I'd spent 2 days preparing all of James's favorite dishes, the recipes I'd been making for 30 years, the ones he'd grown up loving. Ashley took one bite of my green bean casserole and said, "Oh, Margaret, this is so sweet. It's like nostalgic comfort food. James and I have been eating so much cleaner lately. More whole foods, you know, less processed ingredients. But this is cute, very retro. Cute, retro, like my cooking belonged in a museum." She then proceeded to tell me about this meal prep service they'd started using. The chef is classically trained in French technique but focuses on California fresh ingredients. You'd probably find it too adventurous, but James has really developed his palate. I smiled and passed the rolls. James looked uncomfortable but took a second helping of my retro green bean casserole and said nothing. Then came Valentine's weekend. I called James to see if they wanted to meet for brunch. Just casual, my treat. Ashley answered his phone. "Oh, Margaret, that's so thoughtful. But we're actually going to this amazing new farm-to-table place that just got written up in the Times. It's really elevated brunch, not just like regular diner food. Maybe some other time?" She said it so sweetly, but the message was clear. The places I'd choose weren't sophisticated enough for them anymore. The worst was in February when I mentioned I was thinking about taking a cruise to Alaska. I'd always wanted to see the glaciers. Ashley actually laughed. Not mean, but that indulgent laugh you'd give a child who said something cute but silly. "Oh, Margaret, cruises are such a tourist trap. You're basically in a floating mall. If you really want to experience Alaska, you do a small group expedition with a naturalist guide. Immersive travel, you know? Not buffet lines and shuffleboard." She pulled out her phone to show me pictures from some trip she and James had taken to Iceland. This is what real adventure looks like. I started noticing she'd talk over me in conversations, especially if other people were around, or she'd explain things to me like I was a child. Let me break this down for you, Margaret. I know this might be confusing, but back in your day, sure, but now we know better. James would sometimes squeeze my hand under the table, his way of apologizing without actually addressing anything. That almost hurt worse than Ashley's condescension, knowing he saw it but wouldn't speak up. Then in March, I had an idea. My 68th birthday was coming up in June, and I'd recently received a nice sum from some investments that had done well. I wanted to do something special, something to bring us closer together as a family. So I called James and proposed a trip. What if I treated us all to a vacation? Maybe that resort in Charleston you mentioned last year? 4 days, my birthday gift to all of us. Good food, relaxation, some quality family time. James sounded genuinely excited. Mom, that's incredibly generous. Let me talk to Ashley. He called back the next day and I could hear Ashley in the background coaching him. So, Mom, Ashley thinks Charleston might be too traditional. She found this boutique resort in Sedona that's supposed to be amazing. More authentic experiences, she says. Meditation at sunrise, guided desert hikes, farm-to-table dining with a tasting menu. She's really excited about it. The price was nearly double what I'd planned to spend, but I said yes. It was my birthday trip after all. I could afford it, and if this made Ashley happy, maybe it would improve our relationship. That should have been my first warning sign, that I was already letting her transform my birthday celebration into her vacation preference. But I didn't see it then. Over the next few weeks, Ashley took complete control of the planning. She'd send me long texts about the itinerary she was building. I booked us for the advanced desert hike, not the tourist one. The guide leads you to places most visitors never see. It'll be challenging, but so worth it. I gently mentioned that I wasn't sure I was up for an advanced hike. I walk regularly, stay active, but I'm 68 years old. Her response, Margaret, don't sell yourself short. You're more capable than you think. This is about pushing boundaries and really experiencing the landscape, not just looking at it through a bus window. I'd wanted to also book a spa treatment, maybe a nice quiet afternoon, but Ashley vetoed it. Margaret, you can get a spa day anywhere. This is about authentic experiences, really connecting with the landscape and culture. Every suggestion I made was politely dismissed as too ordinary, too touristy, too basic. She was designing the entire trip around what she considered real travel, whatever that meant, and I was just supposed to smile and pay for it. The resort package alone was $3,000. Then she added excursions, premium dining experiences, a private wine tasting. Every time she added something, she'd text, "Don't worry, this is all on the card you gave James, right? These experiences are what make travel meaningful." Yes, I'd given James my credit card information for booking everything. It seemed easier than trying to coordinate multiple reservations. He was listed as the primary guest, and everything was being charged to my card. By the time we were ready to leave, I'd spent close to $7,000 on a 4-day trip that bore no resemblance to what I'd originally envisioned. But I kept telling myself it would be worth it if we could just reconnect as a family. The morning we were set to leave, I arrived at their apartment so we could all ride to the airport together. James had offered to drive and leave his car in long-term parking, again on my dime. But who was counting anymore? Ashley answered the door in head-to-toe athleisure designer wear that probably cost more than my entire suitcase of clothes. She looked at my rolling carry-on bag and actually laughed. "Oh, Margaret, you're not planning to check that, are you? Real travelers never check bags. It's so inefficient. Here, James has a compression bag you can use to fit everything into a backpack." "I'm comfortable with my suitcase, sweetie." She sighed like I'd just insisted on using a rotary phone. "Suit yourself. But when you're waiting at baggage claim while we're already in the Uber, don't say I didn't warn you." In the car, she spent the whole drive explaining travel hacks to me, like I hadn't been flying for 45 years. Always use mobile boarding passes, never the kiosk. Download the airline app. Make sure you have TSA pre-check. Oh, wait, you probably don't have that, do you? That's okay, the regular security line isn't too bad if you go early enough. "I've had pre-check for 4 years, I said quietly. "Oh, good for you, Margaret. See, you're learning." like I was a kindergartner who'd finally mastered tying my shoes. James stared straight ahead at the road, his jaw tight. At the airport, Ashley was in her element, striding through the terminal like she owned it, making comments about amateur travelers who didn't know the efficient routes. When an older couple stopped to check a monitor for their gait, she literally said, "That's why you download the app, so much faster." At our gate, I tried to make conversation about what we were each most looking forward to. Ashley cut me off mid-sentence to answer a work call, holding up one finger in a wait gesture while she paced around talking loudly about quarterly projections. Fine. I pulled out my book. When she finished, 20 minutes later, she didn't apologize or ask what I'd been saying. Instead, she launched into a monologue about the resort's architectural significance and the chef's Michelin background, explaining things she'd already texted me about, as if I couldn't possibly remember or understand without her verbal annotation. On the plane, first class, naturally, which Ashley had upgraded us to without asking if I wanted to spend the extra money, she spent the entire flight making comments about other passengers. See how they're struggling with their bags? That's why you travel light. Look at them ordering regular drinks. The signature cocktails are so much better. When the flight attendant offered me a wine, Ashley leaned over. "Margaret, you should try the local Arizona Vintner option. It's more interesting than just regular wine." "I like Pinot Grigio," I said. "Sure, but when you travel, you should branch out. Try new things. That's what makes it an experience." I ordered the Pinot Grigio. Ashley ordered the Arizona wine, tried it, made a face, and asked for a vodka soda instead. When we landed in Phoenix, we had an hour drive to Sedona. James had rented an SUV, premium tier, Ashley's choice, my credit card. She called shotgun immediately, relegating me to the back seat like a child. Then she spent the drive giving James directions, even though the GPS was running, while simultaneously playing TikToks on her phone without headphones. Every few minutes, she'd turn around to point out something through the window. "See that formation, Margaret? That's why Sedona is sacred to indigenous peoples. It's about respecting the spiritual significance of the land, not just taking selfies," said the woman who'd been taking selfies at every opportunity since we left the apartment. As we got closer to Sedona and the red rocks came into view, even I had to admit it was stunning. I said something about how beautiful it was. "Wait until you see it at sunset," Ashley said. "Most tourists just see it in harsh daylight and think they've experienced Sedona. But real travelers know the magic hours." Most tourists, real travelers. She kept using these phrases, this constant distinction between people who knew what they were doing and people, like me apparently, who didn't. We pulled up to the resort around 3 o'clock. It was beautiful, I'll give Ashley that. Adobe-style architecture, stunning views, a peaceful fountain in the courtyard. The kind of place I would have absolutely loved if I'd gotten to choose it myself and wasn't already exhausted from being condescended to for 6 hours straight. A valet came to help with our bags. Ashley hopped out, stretching and making comments about the drive while James dealt with the car. I grabbed my suitcase from the back. "You can leave that for the valet, Margaret," Ashley said. "I've got it." Seriously, that's what they're here for. This isn't a Motel 6. Let the staff do their job. I kept my hand on my suitcase handle. We walked into the lobby, all cool stone and southwestern art and that particular hush that expensive places have. James headed to the reception desk. I started to follow, naturally curious about the check-in process, the room locations, what our schedule looked like for the evening. Ashley stopped me with a hand on my arm. "Why don't you wait in the lounge? James and I will handle check-in." "I'd like to—" "Margaret." Her voice had an edge now. "We've got this. You don't need to hover. Just relax. If you've been watching this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now, because what happened next is when I finally reached my limit. I followed them to the desk anyway. The woman behind it gave us a warm smile. "Welcome. Checking in?" "Yes," James started. "Reservation under... Do you need to see ID for all guests, or just the primary?" Ashley interrupted. Also, I'm assuming you can accommodate our room layout request. We specified 2 separate units. The clerk started typing. I leaned in slightly. And what time is breakfast? Is it included in the package? Ashley physically stepped between me and the desk. Margaret, seriously, let us handle this. I'm just asking about breakfast. You don't need to ask about every little detail. That's what the welcome packet is for. She turned back to the clerk with an apologetic smile, as if to say, sorry about her. I felt my face get hot. James looked uncomfortable but said nothing. The clerk handed over key cards and a folder of information. Ashley took it all before I could reach for anything. We're in Casita 6 and Casita 8, connected by a patio. Very nice. We started walking toward the rooms, following signs through the beautifully landscaped grounds. I tried to peek at the folder Ashley was holding, wanting to see the full itinerary, the dining reservation times, what exactly I was paying $7,000 for. Ashley, can I see the... Margaret, I'll show you everything once we're settled. I just want to... She stopped walking and spun around, and there, on that beautiful southwestern pathway, with James standing helplessly between us, Ashley finally said what she'd clearly been thinking for months. Stop asking questions. You don't understand real travel, okay? You're so used to your little tour groups and your chain hotels and your packaged experiences where everything is explained to you like you're a child. This is different. This is about immersion and authentic experiences. And honestly, Margaret, you need to just trust us and let us handle it. Not everything needs to be interrogated and overplanned. That's not how sophisticated travelers do things. The words hung in the air between us. James opened his mouth. Ashley, come on. No, James, I'm serious. Your mom has been second-guessing every single choice, asking 1,000 questions, acting like we don't know what we're doing. It's exhausting. I planned this whole trip to be special, and she's treating it like some kind of carnival cruise where she needs a minute-by-minute schedule. My hand was shaking. I looked at my son, waiting for him to say something. Anything. Waiting for him to remind his wife that this was supposed to be my birthday trip, that I was paying for everything, that maybe, just maybe, I had a right to ask basic questions about a vacation that cost $7,000. He looked at his feet. Let's just get to the rooms. And that's when something in me snapped. Not in an angry, loud way, in a quiet, crystal clear way. I thought about every condescending comment, every dismissal, every time I'd been made to feel old and stupid and out of touch, every dollar I'd spent on this trip that had been completely taken over by a woman who thought she knew everything and I knew nothing. Every time my son had witnessed it and said nothing. I thought about sitting in my casita tonight, pretending everything was fine, going on that advanced hike tomorrow that she'd planned without caring if I could actually handle it, sitting through those elevated dinners where she'd probably critique my menu choices. And I thought about the one thing Ashley didn't know, the one piece of information she'd overlooked in all her sophisticated travel planning. James's name might have been on the reservation, but my credit card was holding everything, not as a deposit they'd already paid against, as the actual method of payment. Nothing had been charged yet. The resort would process it all at checkout. Or not. You know what? I said quietly. You're absolutely right, Ashley. I don't understand real travel. Not your version, anyway. She looked satisfied, like she'd won. Like she'd finally gotten through to the difficult old woman who just didn't get it. So, I'm going to get out of your way. I pulled out my phone. You two enjoy your authentic, immersive experience. I'm going home. Mom, James started. I mean it. I'll get a car back to the airport. You kids have a wonderful time. Ashley actually looked pleased, like I was finally being reasonable. Margaret, I think that's probably for the best. You'll be more comfortable with your own kind of vacation. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. After everything she'd said, after the way she'd spoken to me, after taking over my birthday trip and making me feel like a burden every step of the way, no hard feelings. Absolutely, I said with a smile. No hard feelings at all. I walked back toward the lobby, my heart pounding. Behind me, I could hear James and Ashley talking in low voices, probably relieved that the difficult mother-in-law was removing herself from their sophisticated vacation. I found a quiet corner of the lobby near a window with a view of those stunning red rocks. I sat down in a leather chair and I opened my banking app. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were perfectly steady. I found my credit card account. There were the pending charges, all of them. Resort package, room charges, the upgraded car rental, the premium excursions Ashley had booked, the private wine tasting, every single addition she'd made to my original simple birthday trip idea. The charges hadn't posted yet. They were just authorizations holding the amounts. I stared at that screen for maybe 30 seconds, giving myself time to be absolutely sure. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to leave my son and his wife stranded at a resort with no way to pay? Then I remembered her voice. You don't understand real travel. I called the resort's main line. Thank you for calling Canyon Shadows Resort. This is Marina. How may I help you? Hi, Marina. My name is Margaret Donovan. I have a reservation that checked in just now under my son's name, James Donovan. The charges are on my credit card. Authorization only at this point. I need to cancel the entire reservation immediately. Let me look this up. Can I ask why you're canceling? Change of plans. My son and his wife are adults. They can handle their own accommodations. There was typing. Ma'am, I see they literally just checked in about 15 minutes ago. Are you sure? There will be a cancellation fee since it's same day. I'm very sure. What's the fee? $200. That's fine. Much cheaper than $7,000. Please proceed. More typing. A long pause. Okay, ma'am, I've processed the cancellation. The authorization will be removed from your card within an hour, and we'll charge just the cancellation fee. I should tell you, though, your son and daughter-in-law have key cards, and they're probably in their rooms now. They'll be asked to settle a new form of payment within the next 30 minutes, or they'll need to vacate. That sounds perfect. Thank you, Marina. I hung up. I sat in that chair looking at those red rocks, and I felt lighter than I'd felt in 2 years. Then I called a car to take me back to Phoenix. I called the airline and changed my flight to a red-eye that night. Only a $100 change fee, and I booked it myself with my own money, using all my outdated, unsophisticated knowledge of how airports and airlines work. And then I waited. It took 37 minutes. I'd moved to the lounge area, ordered myself a very nice glass of Pinot Grigio. See, Ashley, I can enjoy quality wine. I just prefer what I like. And I was reading my book when I heard the commotion at the reception desk. That's impossible. Check again. Our booking confirmation is right here on my phone. Ashley's voice had that sharp edge it gets when she's dealing with someone she considers beneath her. I didn't look up from my book. I see it was here, ma'am. But it shows it was canceled about 40 minutes ago. Canceled? By who? By the card holder. A Margaret Donovan? The silence was delicious. Where is she? That was James, and he sounded panicked. I closed my book and looked over. They were both at the desk, the clerk looking supremely uncomfortable. Ashley's face had gone from entitled confidence to genuine shock. She kept looking at her phone like the confirmation number would somehow materialize their reservation back into existence. James saw me in the lounge. Mom, what did you do? I stood up, picked up my wine glass, and walked over. Slowly. Let them wait. What did I do? I stopped asking questions, sweetie, just like Ashley told me to. I took myself out of the equation. You canceled our hotel? Ashley's voice was rising. Other guests were starting to look over. Are you serious right now? What are we supposed to... This is insane. No. What's insane is spending $7,000 on a vacation where I'm treated like a stupid old woman who doesn't understand how the modern world works. I kept my voice level, calm. You wanted to handle everything yourself, so handle it. Mom, come on. James at least had the grace to look ashamed. Can we talk about this? We could have talked about it when your wife was being condescending and rude. We could have talked about it when she said, "I don't understand real travel." We could have talked about it any of the dozen times I was dismissed and talked over and treated like a burden. I took a sip of my wine, but we didn't. So now we're here. Ashley found her voice again. "This is ridiculous. James, your mother is having some kind of breakdown. We're supposed to be here for 4 days. All our excursions are booked." "I'm sure you can rebook everything." I smiled at her. "You're such a sophisticated traveler. You'll figure it out. Make sure you download the apps." James pulled out his phone, probably to check. His own credit cards, probably realizing that his sophisticated tech company wife and his aerospace engineer self had somehow missed the rather important detail that they'd planned an expensive vacation entirely on someone else's money without having a backup payment method. The desk clerk cleared her throat. "If you have another card for the reservation, I can reinstate it. But I'll need payment authorization in the next few minutes, or I'll have to ask you to collect your belongings from the casitas." Ashley stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're really doing this? On your birthday trip?" "It stopped being my birthday trip when you took it over completely, when you dismissed every opinion I had, when you made me feel small and stupid and unwelcome in a vacation I was paying for." I set down my glass. "I'm going home. My car will be here in 10 minutes. You two enjoy Sedona. I hear the sunset is magical if you're a real traveler." "This is vindictive and petty," Ashley hissed. "No, honey. Petty would have been waiting until you were at the private wine tasting tomorrow, or until checkout when you had 4 days worth of charges. This is just setting a boundary, a very expensive boundary, I'll grant you, but I can afford the $200 cancellation fee. Can you afford $7,000? James was frantically typing on his phone. "My card will cover most of it, but not the excursions. Ashley, what's your credit limit?" She didn't answer, which told me everything. "We could do fewer days," James said desperately. "Mom, please, we messed up. I should have said something. Ashley," he looked at his wife, "you owe my mother an apology." Ashley's mouth opened and closed. She looked genuinely lost. This woman who always had something to say, some correction or explanation or condescending piece of advice. "I'm not interested in an apology right now," I said. "I'm interested in going home and spending my birthday weekend doing exactly what I want to do, which is reading my books and ordering takeout from my regular, unsophisticated restaurants and enjoying my own company." My phone buzzed. My car was outside. "That's my ride. The casita keys are on the desk." I'd left them there when I came back to the lobby, a detail they probably hadn't even noticed. "Good luck, kids. I hope you find accommodations that fit your elevated standards." I walked out of that resort with my outdated rolling suitcase and my comfortable travel clothes and my ordinary Pinot Grigio buzz, and I have never felt more powerful in my life. They found a cheaper hotel about 30 miles away. I know because James called me from the car, leaving a voicemail apology that actually sounded genuine. They cut the trip short to 2 days since they couldn't afford the excursions without the package deal. I spent my 68th birthday at home in my pajamas, eating Chinese takeout. Yes, regular delivery Chinese food, not farm-to-table elevated cuisine, and watching movies I'd seen 100 times before. It was perfect. Ashley sent me a text 3 days after they got back. Not an apology exactly, more of a, maybe we should talk about what happened. I left it on read for a week before responding with, "I'm willing to rebuild our relationship, but it needs to be based on mutual respect. When you're ready to treat me like an intelligent adult who has value and experience, let me know." That was 4 months ago. We've had 2 dinners since then. Ashley is different. She asks my opinion now. She stops herself when she starts to over-explain. She doesn't always succeed. Decades of being a know-it-all don't disappear overnight. But she's trying. And James? He's learning to speak up. Slowly, but he's learning. As for me, I learned something too. I learned that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat, that paying for things doesn't obligate you to accept disrespect. and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop asking questions and start setting boundaries. I hope some of you out there needed to hear that today. Thanks for watching.